This is my audience for my informative speech. Hey guys. And now I'm gonna hand it to Miss Allen to video me.
According to Bennett Weinberg from CBS News, when we drink caffeine, almost every cell in the body, including the brain, absorbs it within minutes. How many of you wake up in the morning and your first instinct is to grab a cup of coffee or a soda?
Me,
Every
yeah.
day.
I love
too,
Broadway.
guys.
So good.
You are not alone, Mrs. Allen. Today I'll be giving you a brief overview of the history of caffeine, the negative and the positive effects that it has on the body. I'm going to be telling you about some items that surprisingly contain caffeine and just exactly how it affects our brains. Now to my first point, which is a brief overview of the history of caffeine. Caffeine has been around for thousands of years, but it first came to America in the 1500s. Columbus was traveling when he bypassed a Mayan canoe that was carrying coffee beans. He ended up capturing this canoe and taking it back to America with him and taking the beans as well. These beans were used in America as a currency. One significant story that involves the finding of these beans involves an Ethiopian farmer. This farmer moved his goats to a different pasture one day when he noticed that they had become very anxious and jittery. He then noticed that they had been chewing on what appeared to be berries, but in all actuality, they were coffee beans. It wasn't until the 1800s that people started to wonder what was in these beans and if they could take them out and use them in a food or drink source. In the 1820s, a German scientist by the name of Frederick Ferdinand Runge was the first to extract the white powder from the beans and use them in a food or drink source. Now this leads me to my second point, which is some items that contain caffeine that may or may not surprise you, and just exactly how caffeine affects the brain. In our brains, we have what are called the adenosine receptors. Our adenosine receptors are what send the signal to our brain that we are tired and we are ready for bed. When we consume caffeine, our adenosine receptors are blocked, and in turn, it sends the exact opposite message to the brain, telling our brain that we are not tired at all, we are actually awake and very alert. Now, in order to maintain moderation, it is very important that people are educated about food labels and the ingredients in the foods and the drinks in which they are consuming. There are several items that contain caffeine that nobody would guess, but here is just a short list. Dark chocolate, ice cream, weight loss pills, pain relievers, breath fresheners, sunflower seeds, and even oatmeal. Now this leads me to my third point, which is the negative effects that caffeine can have on the body. Caffeine is extremely abused and overused, and this can lead to negative effects. The general daily dosage recommendation of caffeine is around 400 milligrams a day. Now obviously this is going to differ from person to person, but 400 is a good and general number to start with. When this dosage is not followed and it is exceeded, it is going to come along with negative effects. Negative physiological effects such as an increase in anxiety, a decrease in sleep quality, and an increase in blood pressure. It can also lead to negative physical effects such as a constant stomach ache and heartburn. Now this leads me to my fourth point, which is the positive effects that caffeine can have on the body. When caffeine is consumed in moderation, it can be a very useful tool. Caffeine is a natural stimulant, so it is good at keeping you aware, awake, and alert. For those late nights when you're trying to get your homework done, or those early mornings when you just don't want to get out of bed, caffeine can help wake you up, start your day, keep you aware, and keep you alert. Caffeine is also said to decrease the risk of some certain diseases. It is said to decrease the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia by up to 70%. It is also said to decrease the risk of some oral cancers and even strokes. In conclusion, caffeine has a very complex history and background. It comes with negative effects, but it can also come with positive effects when it is consumed in moderation. It goes back thousands of years, and it has evolved in so many ways as the years have gone by. It is absolutely essential that one is educated when consuming food and drinks and knowing what ingredients are in them in order to maintain moderation, because there are several items that contain caffeine that may surprise you. And lastly, caffeine undergoes a very specific process in order to affect our brains and our cells in the ways that it does. Now, to conclude my speech, I would like to ask you all if you now feel as if you have a better understanding of caffeine in general and all of its effects.
Yes,
Yes.
thank
I'm
you.
pretty surprised
Thank you.
at the stuff that caffeine is in.
Good.
Very informative.